Works. Now, I did this last time, but then came up with a message to say I couldn't go live. So let's hope this time it works. Yay! We have success. It's always positive. So I'm really sorry, ladies, about the fact that that we're a bit late starting. That's because for some reason StreamYard decided that it wasn't going to stream for me. Thanks, Simi. I'm online now. That's fabulous. So the lovely Simi, who, for those of you that don't know it, is one of the tech guys at Pentart, has had to reset up a new studio for me. I think you might need to set up another studio for tomorrow nights as well, because that might have been accidentally deleted by me trying to sort it out. Really sorry, Sue. I've never ever had that happen with StreamYard before, but it just decided to be a pain. And typical, I've got another live at 8 o'clock tonight, so I was hoping that I would go on that time, and I had it all set up. Might be my fault because I set it up earlier because I was meeting a lovely friend who's visiting from the States, Rima from Walsall, and so I did set it up quite early. I will not. Yeah, it was very tough, Elizabeth. It's been very tough for me to get live anyway. So let me just swap some imagery around so you can actually see what I'm up to, because that might help, wouldn't it? Let me just... There we are. Let's just rechange that to that. That's a better view. Excellent. So... I am denied about doing this live because there was one using one of these big acrylic baubles, plexiglass baubles. It's about 6 inches, 20 odd centimeters, maybe 8 inches wide. Last week, but this is a very, very different project. So, and it was already prepped. So this is a 3-part plexiglass ornament, and I'm just using one part of it for my make this evening, and we'll use the second one on another project and the third on another. So even if they seem to be relatively expensive to buy, because they are quite large pieces, if you're clever with that, you can convert the one project into 3, and that seems like a good idea. Good evening, Esther. Good evening, Maria. Hello, Elizabeth. Good evening, Julie. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Faith. Good evening, Judith. Hi, Julie. Thank you all so very much for joining me. I have done a little bit of prep, maybe not as much as I might have done, but I have done a reasonable amount of prep. So this is just an MDF bauble that I think should be available in most parts of the world. And I have drawn approximately where my plexiglass bauble is going to be, and I have primed this with Pentart white acrylic primer, so I've got a base to work on, and we're going to be having a little bit of a play with lots of products. Let me just move some of this clutter out of the way, and then we're going to get a base layer down on here, so that we've got some colour. So this is acrylic matte in beige. We'll shove a little bit of that on there. And we have acrylic paint matte in hazelnut. I am wanting a mixed view. Good evening, Rima. I hope you are safely on a train or about to get on a train. It was so lovely catching up with you earlier on today, and we're going to have some of that as well. And we're not going to leave it in puddles. We're just going to move it about, and I might well add some more of the beige to this. I'm just going to want, but I didn't want it as a single colour. So let's just move quite a lot of that hazelnut about all over the place. I've got my fan heater on, so it will dry hopefully reasonably quickly. But as I say, I'm wanting a mixed appearance. I'm not wanting a solid single colour, and wet mixing on my project will work for me. I sincerely hope. There we are. So there we are, and then we will get some ombre mixtures rather than it all being a single colour, if that makes sense. So that's, and obviously because I've got a dirty, you know, I'm mixing it, I will get lots of different shades, and I need it sort of on my base without an awful lot of effort in the process. I do need it to be relatively paler in the centre, having put most of the dark in there, but we'll sort that in a minute. And we're just going to do it because we're going to be layering. And as I say, I didn't want a single tone. I wanted a mixture of colours just to add to that. And off camera, I will do the side. I want to go around the sides of here. And by pouncing, you get some texture and some, you know, even if it's not overt texture, you get some texture just from the. So there we are. We don't want swipe marks, so we'll just do that. And then we have a very swift, very quick background, and that can go in there. So I hope just that everyone. I'm afraid. Hi, good evening, Terry. Thank you for joining me. Thank you so very much. And yes, Julie, I am still coughing. I need to take a leaf out of my own book. I made my poor son, who was also ill and coughing, go and see the GP, and he's been prescribed some steroids to help clear his. And I have a feeling I probably ought to be doing the same, because yes, I am still coughing, and it's a pain in the proverbial. But there we are. So we're, as I say, we're going to do a dimensional bauble with some plexiglass tonight. We've got a bit there that, oops, sorry, didn't want to make you all see it. I can just see I've missed a bit there. So let me just move some of that paint over into there. Make sure I've got a base. Probably being pernickety because, oh dear, we are going to have everyone seasick tonight, because and we're going to add some stenciling around here onto this to add some more detail. Good evening, Joan. Hello, Rosa. Hello, Idiko. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Now, I happen to know that with my bauble and my base blank, if I pop my acrylic bauble in approximately 3 centimetres from the edges, then it's going to be approximately in the centre. Because of the additional things I'm going to add, a little bit out probably won't matter, but if you've got OCD and you like things just so, then it's worth getting out a ruler for something like this and actually measuring what you're going to do. I think this is getting there. So I've got an ombre messy background, but that is cool because it's not going to stay looking messy. So if I pop my ruler across there and work out 3 centimetres in, that should be about right there in that direction. And I know I need it in about 3 centimetres from the bottom, and I am going to draw on here. The pencil line will not be visible in the finished piece, and I just literally did take a pair of scissors and chop the hanging piece off here. So eeny, meeny, miny, what have I done with that? I had a very nice stencil. I'm going to have one of those days, aren't I? So I have a Stamperia stencil here, and we're just going to add some elements. And I'm choosing to work with the new Bordeaux Gold Deluxe Paste. And also, hi Raina, thank you for joining me. and the gold deluxe paste. And I'm going to mix them up. Now both of these pastes tend to separate. I've got a broken lid, which is why mine's going all crusty, but I don't like waste, so we'll manage. Hi Rena, thank you. So let me just grab something that will do. So give that a little bit of a stir. You can see when they're separated, and that's just fine. And I will wipe that down so I don't contaminate my pots, and mix this one in. The gold is much thicker, but that's because the pot is essentially open. So let's just wipe that into there so we don't waste very much. Pop that into there. I'll grab a wipe to hand, and so I'm actually going to add. I'm not too worried if a little bit of it goes in, and I'm being naughty. I'm double dipping, and I'm going to have to be very careful with this, aren't I, as to what I do, but hey ho. That's fine, and it doesn't matter if it goes over some of these areas, because it's a background. It's not all going to be visible by the time we've finished and added our pieces. I just wanted to add some extra details into my background, and if I was not doing this on a live, then I would probably do a bit of stenciling, let it dry, add another bit of stenciling, rather than doing it like this. So so I would add it in stages, but I'm just wanting a little bit of extra detail around the edge. You can see that I'm not being overly pernickety about that at this point in time. Now we just need a bit of a clean up. So there's some bits on here that I know I definitely don't want, and that's the whole purpose of having drawn that circle, means I can come into here and wipe some of this back. You can see that I'm going to get some sparkle. That won't matter, but I can take it back out of the middle. Won't matter if it's not all out, and clear it back, because when you're trying to circle, you do a circumference, I think, of stenciling. It's quite difficult. I quite like that colour, so I'm just going to add that little bit of sparkle deliberately, intentionally now, to working it around there, the edge of where my plexiglass ornament is going to sit. Oops, she says. So that's background. There we are. Let's just clear that, pop that into there, pop the lids on these, tuck them safely out of the way, because that's what's required at this point. There we are. We'll just mop that up. So I've got some sparkle from the rubbed back glazes in the centre, and a rim on there, and a lid to go on there. I like them. I like that stencil very much as well. So let's just pop that out of the way, pop that out of the way, pop that out of the way. I do need to just go in a little bit further with that thing. There we are. Okay, so my next move is going to be to pop a piece of rice paper onto the centre of here. And I know that I'm breaking the rules because I haven't gone white behind, but I'm wanting a more vintage feel than white, and I'm quite liking the muted colours. So let me just pop some decoupage glue. I'm using the ultra matte. It probably doesn't matter whether you use the ultra matte or the shiny. We're going to have the shiny plexiglass over it anyway. So actually, you know, in the long term, it's not going to really matter which one you pick, because the whole piece is going to be sort of shiny before we start. So there we are. That's it's an approximate blob. We might need to, easier to add a bit more, isn't it, around, rather than having to pick up edges. If it was a bigger piece, would be add a little bit at each side. And then let's get that cat reasonably centered in there. But I'm conscious I need my poinsettia to still be in that circle, which is why I drew it in the first place. So here I know I haven't got enough. I'm going right up to that circle. I don't want to smear red, so let's just be very careful at that point, and then we're going to seal it down. But actually we're not going to be doing a huge amount of paintwork on the top of this. We're going to be doing something very different. There we are. So that will have that minor sprinkles and suitably sealed in place. This is a Stamperia rice paper, and it's from I think around the world or around the home. I can never remember the name of this collection, but it's one of the current collections of Stamperia products. So, and it's still pretty widely available, I think, in the UK. I wasn't sure that I was going to like it when I ordered it and bought it, but actually I've since changed my mind. So that is now going to go next to the fan heater on the floor to dry. Next trick that we have up our sleeve. This is a different rice paper, and as we know, rice papers are all very thin and you can't really use them for shaping. However, you can thicken rice paper and it becomes almost like a fabric. So I have, off air, because life is too short, put 6 or 7 layers of ultra matte decoupage glue on here if you want it, and literally all I've done is popped a layer over the whole piece and left it to dry. Once it was dry, and you can force set it, I then added another layer of decoupage glue. That again, let it dry, and as I say, I built my layers up, and that's given me a rice paper that has substance. It almost feels like fabric. You could certainly sew through it, and some of the more patterned rice paper images would make fabulous book covers, I think, or even, you know, or patchworks and things. So let me just pop that safely, as Mr. Minnis would say, onto the floor. So instead of having a very floppy piece of rice paper, let me see if I can grab the rice paper. Have I got a rice paper lurking? No, I must have a rice paper. Yes, I have got a rice paper. So this is the rice paper, unthickened at all. What's brilliant, Chris? This is a concept. It's not mine, I have to confess. Good evening, Sylvia. So it's really quite soft and it's floppy and doesn't hold its shape. You know, even if I hold it here, it flops and wings in the breeze. This is my rice paper that has had my sort of 8 layers of decoupage glue layered as it dries, and you can see that it's got a substance to it, and I think you can see that the colour has changed. It's darkened quite a lot, but this now allows me to easily, I'm only going to do one of these because I've done quite a lot of them already. It's a technique I'm showing you, but I've now got a piece of almost like fabric that I can easily, because we all know how difficult it is to cut directly round rice paper, because it is so soft and mobile. But you can see this is just sitting and handling almost like fabric. Don't worry, Jill, not a problem. It's always there on catch up, and I'm live on Crafting Together with all brands at 8 o'clock. So nothing like trying to get people to have a double dose of me today, but that's life. It will be another Stamperia project, perhaps with the other half of the ball. There we are. And that, as I say, will be on Crafting Together with all brands. So a different audience completely. But anyone is welcome to join, but you will have to ask to join. It's a closed group. So there we are. Very busy today. We've had the decorators in. The house has been in absolute chaos and remains in chaos. But hey ho. So there we are. So this, as I say, just allows me to come round, and it's thick, so it holds its shape, which is lovely. Good evening, Blanche. Welcome, welcome. So, ever wondered what to do with your sandpaper pads that have become so bare that you can't actually use them for sanding anything off if you've done lots of decoupage? Well, they make the foam ones, and the pads make fabulous soft mats. So all I've got now is a ball tool, and I can add, just by running it round, some shape to my and you can, I think you can see just how dimensional that becomes. And you definitely couldn't do that with if you hadn't used the glue technique. If you want it to be more opaque, then you could paint the back white. As I say, I'm going for a vintage feel, so for me that didn't matter today. There we are. We'll pop that in, and we're just shaping along there, and then we can pop that into there. And I've got, so these pieces are no longer flat, and I have also got some contour liner in gold, and I'm just going to pop that into the center of there to build up another bit of texture in my piece. Good evening, Annie. No worries, Blanche. It's a busy time of the year for everyone, and we're all busy, creators, I think, are never far from a project. So let's pop that one over there out of harm's way. As I say, I have already done quite a few of those because I really wasn't sure that you wanted to spend all evening watching me paint a layer of decoupage glue, let it dry, paint another, because it did take me a wee while to get the 8 layers on. But the 8 layer seems to work quite well. I guess if you wanted it thicker, you could add more layers of decoupage glue along the way. But let's just clear this down, because why not? There we are. So what else have we got to do some prepping with? Let's pop that out of harm's way. So we've got a clear surface. 1, 2, 3, 4, and oh, she says we're getting stuff every which way. That's a mucky pop, isn't it? And we've got some of those. So I have just moulded from air dry clay some pieces from an edging mould, and these are going to fit around my piece when they're dried. So 1, 2, 3. I think I'm going to need the best part of 4 of them. To do. Now this is an air dry clay that is malleable when heated up, and so I can put this on and let it dry. Normally I put it on the pieces, but I also want the inside of it coloured rather than it all being because you can see the inside looking through the plexiglass. And so I've chosen some gold for this, and I'm going to paint both sides in a relatively fast manner. But that's just because, as I say, actually on a, left to doing it myself, I would probably attach them to the mold, to the plexiglass itself while it dried. But there's not much, it's about processes and time on a live to get stuff together. But I'm hoping that having shown you how to thicken your rice papers and get dimension from them, how you can then make them into a fabricy feel, if that's that's the look that you're wanting, and a different use for them. Yeah. So we need to do these. I might cheat this evening and once these are dry, put them on with a hot glue gun. I would never dream of doing that anywhere other than alive, because of the fact that it just takes a while. It's not as robust when you do that. So let's just do this. And I'm sorry, for me, the only way of doing this is to get mucky fingers. So apart from the fact that I think the edge is going to look very pretty, there's a practical purpose for adding this trim. The edge of the 2-part bauble is very, very thin. And so if you just try to glue it in place on its own, it will glue with time, but it's held by really an area that's maybe 0.5 millimeter. It's very, very, very thin. Good evening, Sarah. And so by adding these, I'm increasing the width that is there for gluing to my base, if that makes sense. So there we are. I'll pop that onto there. I'm going to give those a little whilst dry so I can do the inside, because as I say, when you're thinking about 3-dimensional structures and things with shape, all of the surfaces become visible, and therefore it's quite important that you think about what's going to be seen from both sides. So let's just give these a dry. I hope everyone remains well, that your Christmas preparations are in progress, and that life is treating you all very well. So I've just used the metallic acrylic paint in actually bright gold, because that matches with my contour pen. And sometimes you just cannot short circuit some of these, so that can go there. And I'm going to just add some paint on the inside of here again, because I don't want the white line to show on the rest of the project. I use them for black projects. I'm really not mithered about having to having painty hands, though I accept that it maybe doesn't look so good on a live, but it's real life, and we're crafters, aren't we, ladies? I mean, if you want me to gown and glove to do the lives, well, that's fair enough, but sometimes life is too short, isn't it? So there we are, and these will just look so much better on the project if we've taken this extra time to do this. Now, one of the problems with, or one of the things you have to remember when you're adhering down an acrylic bauble is that if you put in things that are wet and adhere it down, the moisture has nowhere to go, And that means all that will happen is you will end up with masses of condensation on your inside of your baubles. So it's really important when you're making baubles or enclosing things into a fixed space that you actually take the time to have these properly dry. So my next step is to take some of these, which are the Pentacolor rub-ons. I do have a couple of packets of them. So let's just move those over there for the moment. Give that just a bit of a wipe. Pop that there. Pop that out the way. Clean that mess up because I don't want that attaching to where areas of my bauble that it doesn't need to be attached to. They can sit there and dry. I'm sorry about the noise because that needs to be there. And again, if I was making, not on a live, all I do is walk away, let it dry and get on with it. But such is the joy. Pair of scissors. There we are, we have a pair of scissors. So we've just got some pieces that we're going to sort of randomly add to our piece. And if you haven't tried the rub-ons from Samperia, then they are fabulous. So they will adhere to pretty much everything, which is lovely. And all I've got is a foam folder here that's going to allow me to add these in place. And if you don't put it all off in one go, then you can generally get the whole thing off and then just pop it down. So we'll just carry on adding a few of these scattered around whilst we've got bits drying. And then we can keep things plain, we can keep things simple, we can add our mixes. And I'm deliberately not putting it right into the middle. I do want to be able to see my image that will ultimately be behind the plexiglass. So yeah. And there are definitely limits to how much you can heat. So that's just popped up there. An acrylic bauble before they start warping. So you just need to be aware of that when you've got heat guns near things. Good evening, Paulette. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. It's so appreciated. I remember rub-ons from many years ago from a very different company, and they were a nightmare to get off their carrier sheets. These are super, super easy. I guess it's just technology has improved over time. But they make a very quick, very effective addition to a bauble, and we can all pick those up cheaply enough, I think, from lots of different places. That heat gun sounds like it doesn't like being on, so we'll turn that off whilst it has a chance to cool down, because otherwise it will get upset at us, and we do not require it to explode or anything like that. It'll be a very, very unpleasant experience. So approximately quarters. It is very approximate. I do have some clay pieces prepped, but we might not get time to do all of those looking at the time now, but there we are. So I think we might just add some extra little bits project's worth doing. It's worth doing properly. So yeah, I think pop that up so it's at least joining each other. Little mistletoe berries, or certainly white berries. I'm not too sure I want to add the bells that are in this piece, but that's cool. Okay. And they will layer over each other, which is another good thing. There we are. So we might just say that's enough for those now. We've got a little bit of a pattern going around here. It'll fill some spaces up in the end. Let's just pop all of those bits out of the way so we don't have a mess, because I don't like messes, as we know. Let's plug the hot glue gun in, because it's not currently plugged in. I'll pop that over there, because I do think we're going to need to pop some of that on with some hot glue when that dries up. So the next thing that I am going to add to this make, having added all those, sorry I was off camera, but you are very polite, ladies. Please feel free to put comments if I'm wandering off screen. I know it's a potential to happen to lots of us when we're on a live. Let's have a cleaner version of those. So this is the crystal paste, and remember it is silver and gold glitter, although this is the gold variant, in a milky gel medium. So it will dry sparkly but are no longer are not milky. So let's just pop that over there, and we're just going to add so it will add you can add as little or as much as you want to your piece. Big clumps, little clumps, entirely up to you. It depends on really how glittery you want your piece to be, but it will. Here we are. So I'm going to pop that next to my heater to dry, because it needs to. That is the bulk of that done. There we are, whilst that heat gun dries. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we'll leave those. There we are, 5. So these are, again, dry clay that came from last year's poinsettia mould, and I took them out of I put them in the freezer because I picked out the areas that I wanted, and then dried them so they were propped against the plexiglass. So the plexiglass was over there, so they've got a bit of a shape, and that was intentional to for adding some details to them. So I don't want to have red every which way. I can feel it happening. And there we are. So we need a smaller brush than that. That one will do. I could perhaps have got a very fine detailed brush out, but we're going to do the bulk of this in red as poinsettia because it's going to be easier. I don't want it quite all in red though. I'm going to swap to a smaller brush because I can't be doing with that. So there we are. We're going to be neat and tidy, regardless of the fact that it will take me, well, it won't take me longer because I'll be happier with it, is the bottom line. There we are. And this is when it absolutely is worth investing in some decent brushes. And then, ladies, doing what you should do rather than what I do. So doing what I say rather than what I actually do is then don't leave them soaking in pots of water and go away overnight because you'll misshapen them. You need to wash them straight away, repoint them with your fingers, and then let them dry lying flat. Because that way you'll preserve the details of them. There we are. Let's get rid of that bit. I don't know that there's any way of short-circuiting doing this, really, short of having every piece prepped for the live, and that really defeats the purpose, I think, of doing a live, is if you've got everything all ready. So let me go. So there we are. So that can dry. Sorry, I'm back off screen again. It's really naughty of me. I do apologise. So yeah, I'm just picking out the bits that I think are poinsettia red, leaving bits that I think should be poinsettia green. I might be wrong in some of these, I might not. But in an ideal world, I would paint the backs of these as well. The whole backs. So, because otherwise it'll look yucky. You'll just have, in spite of me, gold sparkle. I might not to paint them with lots of detail, but I definitely would prefer them to have some colour on the backs. So we will do. And these will ultimately be on the outside of the project. So I can retouch. Hi Rennie, thank you very much for sprinkling. It's much appreciated. There we are. As I say, I don't know that there's an easy way of not just taking the time and hopefully filling in the gaps so that you're not just waiting for paint to dry, because that would be oh so very boring. As I say, the outside I can retouch on the project long term, so I'm not, it's less of an issue, I think. I'll give you an idea of where we're going, at least by doing it this way. The green leaves will be easier. And of course, the flowery bit of the poinsettia isn't actually the red, is it, at all? It's the little yellow bits in the centre. The red are just red leaves, which is an interesting concept, I think. I don't know of another flower that's like that in any way, shape or form. So we've got a lovely lady called Terry Lightsey in the house this evening. She is a really fabulous creative, and she regularly does lives in her own name from the States. Now in the UK, that means they go out at around 10 o'clock in the evening, 9 o'clock in the evening. So actually, after most of the lives have settled down and gone, so if you're sort of needing a bit of company, wanting to see how someone creating, then I think, again, it's well worth it. You always learn when you're watching. Well, I find I always learn when I'm watching someone else. You're never ever too old to learn, are you? So there we are. So the green I can pick up and sort out live, on my project and neaten it. So as long as the red is sorted, I will be happy at this stage. And then I'm going to, as I say, I know I need to paint the undersides of at least some of this because it will show. And there is nothing worse. And you could add vintage, yes, Umbra Patina or any of the antiquing gels, and that will help cover a multitude of sins for your painting. That's again what you're wanting to do. But it also helps with the details. But we can do that again once these are on the final project. It won't matter at that point. There we are. So this is Carmine, which is a beautiful, decadent, rich red, I think. So, but choose whichever red you've got. You can get very pretty pale pink poinsettias, can't you? It doesn't have to always be traditional red. Don't think I've ever seen blue ones. I've certainly seen cream. They're very, very pretty. So, yeah. Now, some of these came out of pieces came out from actually a wreath mould, so it's non-generic as to. Let's get rid of those bits. And the joy of paper clay is that you can custom shape. That was a mistake. That was clearly meant to be a leaf, but hey ho, we'll worry about that after it's been painted. So once it's dry, I'll be able to paint over it without a problem. And white ones, yeah, there are some beautiful, beautiful colours and shades of poinsettia out there. So that's cool. Right, I'm going to give those a little bit of a waft try so I can paint the back and then add the green without hopefully contaminating it all. As I say, where these creep up over the plexiglass ornament, they will be visible, which is why I'm wanting at least some colour on them. It doesn't have to be correct in terms of leaf and poinsettia, but I don't want it to be stark white. And the problem with heating these is that they're going to reshape, but again, I can reshape them afterwards. I forgot that you watched, Julie. Yes, absolutely. No, they're not good for some animals, are they? The poinsettias. There's lots of poisonous plants out there for animals, unfortunately. Right, let's just leave that with that blowing on those. And let's just grab a smaller paintbrush and we'll add some green into here. Define the leaves. As I say, I know that where these are going to be positioned on my project, I will be able to go in and touch up. Ultimately, so less of a problem. Edges do need to, they're more difficult, aren't they, to touch up. Flip you over. And say I just want some colour. I'm not minded about this being anatomically or botanically even correct. I just don't want to be able to see white. Yeah, I've got green on my red paint, but hey ho. As I say, I know I can touch that up once they're all secured on my project, so that's also fine. Pop that in there. And I think this is the joy of a mixed media style make, isn't it? You've got, you know, you just have to do the drying. There is no short-circuiting the drying activities or the painting. But by the same token, whilst we're doing this, I've actually got other stuff drying, so that's equally important and go to the whole process, isn't it? You know. There we are. Put it back under camera might probably help matters even. We can do a little bit of switching up. We can add some gold shimmer. We could add umber. I'm actually intending to put the gold shimmer glaze out in preference to going brown for this project, because I just thought it might be nicer than having brown on a project when there's brown in the wood. The piece in the first place. There we are. And the shimmer will help bring out the detail. So again, this needs to be dry from that purpose. And that's all cool. Sorry if this is a boring part of the process, painting and drying. It's a bit like literally having to wait for paint to dry or petals to boil when they're being watched, but hey ho. Because I've done the backs of all of the others in the green, and I know that there's no green on this leaf at the moment, but there will be in a minute because one of those petals at the front should actually be a leaf, or should be green, not red. I'm going to do this, keep it all the backs essentially the same, because I think it will look better overall. I think we should have a leaf in here, so I'm just going to pop a big leaf in here. She says, Mucky Spooky Singers. We've all gone very quiet, ladies. I don't know what we're up to. Have we got questions to ask? Feel free. If I can catch them, I will. If not, I apologise. It's not me being rude. It's me head down with my project making, which you don't always see all of the comments when you're actively making a project, I'm afraid. It's just the way it goes. Hi Patricia, thank you for joining us this evening. We're using pent-up mediums and all around Christmas from Stamperia tonight for our make. So hopefully that will suit. I've done quite a lot of prep already. And I know that this looks, so these are the backs, but because parts of them are going to show, I don't want the white, I'm just going back over it, and I can retint the fronts once it's done. Right, we might have a bit of touching up to do, ladies, but hopefully we will not have too much excessive painting to do. We might have a bit of fun to get everything put together. So let me just shovel some of this lot. That'll be on the floor. Out of the way with a glue gun and a heater. There we are. Oh, we'll pop that over there. And we'll give our little hands a wipe down. We are making progress. It's always good to make progress, I think, isn't it? Now, at this point, I don't really want colour getting on stuff that I don't need colour on. So let's just wipe that down. Give the hands a good wipe. Clear the decks. And then you might be able to see more about what's happening rather than the mess. So this base is now sort of dry. I wouldn't say it's dry, but it's sort of dry. So because I've gone muted in the background of here, not traditional white, I've got a vintage feel to this piece. And that's exactly what I wanted. And these are my pieces of rice paper that I have thickened and added to texture too. So I'm going to start to add some of these into here, and she says she didn't put a heat gun on, so she's a what? She put her iron on. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. It'll be one of those days. Let's just pop that on. And we'll grab some glue instead. There we are. We'll have some glue instead. That will work. There we are. So this is just the express glue from Pentacolor. You can see I've got this lifted and raised. Now I sort of had a plan for these, so let me go with the plan. Thank you, Sabine. Much appreciated. And I can tuck these in and under and over and fill my gaps. I don't want them poking over the edges because really that would be a bit of a headache, a bit of a nightmare even. But what this is going to allow me to do is just build a three-dimensional piece to sit inside my frame rather than it all being flat, if that makes sense. Now I think I did have, I did have a third one of these. That's even better. There we are. So I can add 3 of those. Pop that into there. And I've chopped some bits up, but actually, so do I want that into there? Maybe not. Maybe not. We may add a piece underneath there. So it's never quite the same when you do something on a live as to when you practice and put everything together for yourself. Well, clearly we don't want that. Here we are, so we can build that into there. We'll just lift that up over there, up over there. The glue will set. Add that one on top. So I've got lots of depth building, and hopefully you're now a bit warmer. That would be amazeballs, wouldn't it? If I put the thing on. There we are. And these are papers cut from the same collection. So I can then start, just again, to add in some extra bits of detail. There we are. Tuck you into that, tuck you into that. Got half a piece of flour there. You really don't have to. Well, I can tuck into there. So you can, I can see that I've got different textures from the different pieces I'm using, whether it be the papers or whether it be my thickened decoupage papers, and it's just allowing me to lift this up. I can't go too high. My plexiglass isn't hugely big, is it? But I can add. There we are. So he's sitting in his flowers, and I've got another half piece over here. So we'll tuck that where there's a gap. I think there might be a gap. We might have a gap there. Okay, cool. So, plexiglass. Oh, so this isn't quite dry, but that is absolutely fine. I'm wanting this to sit over everything here. Okay, and I would much rather it was fully dry before doing that, but hey ho. So that piece is too big and catching. It's not bad, not bad. So if I take a drizzle of my express glue, which will dry clear around the circle. There is a top and there is a bottom to this piece. This is where I chopped off a bit. Now I'll just pop that onto there. Give it a little squash. And now just add some of that around there. And the hot glue is going to allow me to grab that into place. Thank you so much. As I said to the ladies earlier, I really wasn't sure about this collection when I first saw it. I really wasn't so sure about it. But it has absolutely grown on me. There is no question about it. And believe me, ladies, it is definitely worth using a hot glue gun for this bit of it, because it will drive you doolally otherwise, holding all of these in place while it dries. As I say, I know I can touch up areas afterwards. No, she said. There we are. So 3 was enough. Pop those into there. Add a little bit more hot glue for instant grab. There we are. The white on the top will dry clear. We'll get rid of the glue gun bits from on there. Stick that into there. Stick that into there. That will settle down as it dries. That just needs to grab. So we are definitely going to need to do a little bit of touch up there. Where's that red paint? Whilst that has a chance to settle down a little bit. I'll pop that there, but we'll give these a whiz dry and add some. Yeah, we're okay actually. We're not doing so badly. Let's get rid of the green on those. And so we'll not be so precious about this tonight. We can touch it up afterwards. Let me just pop that there. So I think, you know, you could just leave it like this if you wanted to. I think it's a very lovely project, just as it is. You could add lots more rub-ons, because remember they're on the outside of your piece. So you could stop where you want to. So if you just have a general border mould, rather than lots of other moulds, then any border mould will work just as well. And this is just about playing, using your products, thinking about different ways of using them. I do want to add some gold shimmer to these, and I can't do it while it's wet, ladies, so just bear with, because all that will happen while it's wet is I will shift all the wet and make a mess. And having gone to the trouble to at least vaguely painting them, I'd rather not make a mess at this stage. So I think that they will be sort of manageable. Maybe not sort of manageable, but we're going to manage with them because that's just part of the process. So this is the gold shimmer paste. And I have to say, it's probably the one that I've used the most is actually the pearl shimmer paste. But this really does give a lovely, lovely, lovely effect. Now, this, remember, you use like you would an antiquing gel or umbra patina or anything that adds patina to it. And so whilst it is wet, it's wipeable and removable. Once it's dry, it's got a wax in it, so it will help protect your pieces. And so you've got this gorgeous, gorgeous shimmer, and you can take back as much or as little as you want, but it's a truly beautiful, beautiful effect. I find that the gold tends to cover more, and you tend to end up with, you know, more gold than doesn't, but the little bits of mica tend to sort of cling a bit more than the others, but my most favourite is actually the pearl, but it isn't the right colour for this project. So yeah, just wipe it back. So it's worth just taking the time to do all of this. And now you can see why I wasn't unduly worried about my not so careful painting. You know, I love spending an hour, 2-3 hours painting a very fine detailed mould. Now I know that this has gone pink in an area, and that's because some of that paint was still wet. But because I'm wiping it back, actually again, it's not going to matter too hugely. You do need to wipe back with a piece of cloth that's clean and not completely impregnated with the shimmer. So this might seem a very wasteful activity, because you're lathering it on and wiping it back, but you get huge 150 ml pots of it. So I think it's, you can afford to be extravagant, and it's a luxurious product, isn't it, with all of this, just completely right for this time of the year. There we are. And if I've got a bit of mica underneath, I'll live with that. So actually, when you look at that, you think, and I know, I was very messy with my painting, but by the time you add that antiquing paste, the gels and things, and the shimmer glazes, it doesn't matter. You can pull things back. Thank you, Elizabeth. I think you like that from that comment. I'm assuming it means fantastic. Thank you, Rennie. Thank you, Faith. Thank you, Blanche. Thank you, Patricia. Thank you, Laurie. And thank you for your kind words, Renee. Right, so let's just pick up this. Throw that out of the way. So how did I have them? So I think that's going to sit reasonably comfortably there. So I'm going to add some of my express glue. I used pine green for my leaves, if that is okay. Yeah. Yeah. And I can now squash that into place, and hopefully the glue will help it grab, or the hot glue will help it grab. And I'm not going to worry too much if it's not anchored in all places, because as I say, we've got the colour underneath, and I can always add a little bit, poke it down, let it grab. Yeah, so we have a space here. I think that will fill that space quite nicely. Off live, I would, again, I would probably almost certainly put some tape onto this to hold it down, but while it dries, but it's not a great headache to do that. It just needs that little bit of extra grab time. She says. No, I don't think it was meant to be that way. I think it's meant to be that way. Big. There we are. So I can pop that down onto there, pop that onto there, squash it down, let the hot glue grab into place, pop it around. I might need to add some more glue. Thank you, Anthony. Long term, but it's going to help me cover some of these areas. So let me just pop this into here. Let me pop that back up into there. Shovel a bit of that into there. I have a feeling that might be. a wrong temperature glue stick in there. Okay, we're just going to let that settle down. So let's just add another one of those over there. As I say, I will tape some of these pieces that are lifting and re-glue them off camera. Because it's going to be easier to do that, I think. Yeah, pop that into there. But the hot glue gun is definitely, just because of its quick grab, makes life easier at this point. Providing, of course, you let the stuff settle down. There we are. You can go down, go round. Let it just grab. Glue gun strips everywhere, but hey ho, they can be dealt with. There we are. I can see one lifting here that it's irritating me, so I'm going to pop it down. And let's just grab another glue stick. Just squash that into place, squash that into place. And let's pop that last one into here. So that, because there is a join from my clay there, and this is going to help to cover it up. There we are. Absolutely. So these are paper clay. So there we are. So we now have our messy hands, our yucky things, and a completed bauble. I will find some nice luxurious ribbon to pop in here at some stage. So we have a simple background, piece of rice paper. We've thickened our rice paper to make it fabric-like to get some dimensional flowers. We've added our plexiglass with some of the glamour paste behind it, crystal glaze behind it, and some poinsettia rub-ons and a stenciled background just for added interest. So different project for me this evening. I'm glad you like it. I'm going to disappear. I have half an hour now to clear the decks, reset everything, and move my camera back to its normal position, and then I will be ready for my next live of the evening. Talk about pushing your luck. But I hope this has been absolutely enjoyable, and it was absolutely fabulous meeting Rima. I have to say, I really enjoyed it. It was lovely. And we managed to go to see where the house that she grew up in, and also the house that her husband courted her from. So yeah, a real trip down memory lane for them, and I'm so pleased that I could facilitate it. So ladies, that's all for now. Take care, and I will see you possibly in a couple of weeks' time on Pentacolor. Bye.